kids often start questioning their identity. Maybe they decide that they feel they need to come out as trans or something. And what do they do next? Who do they ask for help?
I don't know, because part of me thinks that they've been nurturing it like a bonsai tree in the computer for a long time. And then they tend to go towards their parents with the letter on the pillow. And it's kind of, now I'm going to plop that onto your lap, parents. Take it away. Your problem.
Right. So mom and dad, you need to call my aunt and uncle. You need to tell grandma. You need to call the school.
Sort out the school, please, for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a way that they, not always, right? But a lot of times the kid is asking for their parents' help to bring this new identity to life.
Yeah. And in a way, that's, to me, that's turning left from the kind of, they were going forward into adulthood. And it's a way of taking a left turn, getting less progress and more kind of take a turn so that you don't have to go so fast towards the goal of adulthood. And when you look at, eating disorders, it's incredibly similar. There's a real desire for a lot of people with eating disorders, not all, but it's quite noticeable. They don't want to grow up. They don't want to get bigger. They don't want to get older. They don't want sexual development. They don't want the messiness of adult engagement, the complicated grey area of adult engagement. It feels too difficult, too hard. What they'd rather do is keep their head down and get great scores, because that's kind of childlike. Study hard, get great scores. Keep your head down. Don't get bigger, if you follow me. And that's very often a concept very deep ingrained in some people with eating disorders. And I've noticed something similar with gender. It's like, stay in the fantasy world of YouTube, good looking, very, very juvenile, gender influencers who might be 27, but they act 17. And they kind of come on with their dorky kind of face and their dorky phrases, and they're like, "Hi guys," and woo woo woo. And it's like, that is seriously a 27-year-old man. It might be a trans man, but you're like, they are so far from what I was when I was 27. They're very juvenile. And the kids are really liking them. And I'm there thinking, this is a very juvenile vibe, the whole thing, with the avatars and the kind of the slogans and the kind of the sassy little answers that sound clever, but there's very little depth and very little kind of pausing, reflection, maturity, a real lack of maturity in the whole feeling of this kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel a little conflicted because there's this weird catch-22. I don't want to make it seem as though the internet is the only kind of medium that we should be examining here. But you also can't help but notice how much of this is fueled on the internet. And so when you talk about the avatars, I really cannot help but think about, I've put out a lot of content, whether it's on YouTube, on my channel, or other people's channels. And what I've noticed is whenever I hear some really serious objections, it's almost always somebody with a cartoon avatar.
I know.
And I mean, it's like the first few times I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's just a weird coincidence. But over time, I've come to realize there's so many people who are either actually young and using these online platforms in that way, or there's something about the whole ideology or the belief system that keeps people in this very fantasy-based, youngish place. And cartoons seem to be such a big part of this. And I can't help but notice that. And I think there's something, positive about the fact that people want to stay in touch with that fantasy part, the imagination part, especially a lot of these young people, they're illustrators, they're drawing all the time. They're like looking at anime, partially because it's their hobby, but partially because maybe they're going to study that in school or something. So there's nothing wrong inherently with staying connected to that part of you. But I find it really interesting that this seems to be an overwhelming pattern and an overwhelming theme.